Alright guys, UFC Fight Night, Tatsuro Taira versus Hyun-sung Park. The Hyun-sung hero stepping into the last minute is happening this weekend. It's an Apex Fight Night. You can tell that the UFC puts so much effort into these fight cards because there's a total of one ranked male fighter on this card. The whole entire card, including the prelims and the main event. So I'm going to put about as much effort doing these fight picks as the UFC made matchmaking this card, and I'm going to figure it out all with you right now. We're going to start with the prelims. Piera Rodriguez versus Ketlen Souza. Who gives a I mean, it's 10-2 versus 15-5. I think that we basically just go Piera Rodriguez. Let's. Looks like Ketlen Souza has higher output. What's the defense like? Yeah, I'm gonna actually go Ketlen Souza by decision. Moving on to Rafael Estevam versus Felipe Bunes. 13-0 versus 14-7. I think we can pretty clearly give this to Rafael Estevam right out of the gate. He also has about double the amount of output. Sorry, not double the amount of output. Double the wins by KO. Looks like Felipe Buenas is a submission guy, but he absorbs twice as many punches or twice as many strikes as he gets. So, how's his takedown average? He does get 2.5 takedowns per 15 minutes, but his takedown accuracy is 25%, whereas Rafael Estevam gets 6 takedowns every 15 minutes. He mustn't have had many fights in the UFC. Regardless, I'm going to go Rafael Estevam by KO or TKO in this flyweight bout. Moving on to Austin Bashi versus John Yannis. We got 13-1 guy versus 0-0-0 no stats. Okay, let me figure out something about John Yannis really quickly. I got Tapology up on my other screen. John Yannis is 9-3. This is his first fight in the UFC. He's on a 3-fight win streak. Hasn't fought anybody that you would know. Surprise, surprise. Wins 56% of his wins by KO and the others by decision. He's lost 1 by submission and 2 by decision. So going back to Austin Bashi here, he has 13-1, 23% of wins by KO, TKO. I'm just going to go with Austin Bashi. He's got the UFC experience, and I think that that's going to take it for him. Moving on to the middleweight bout, Nick Klein versus Andrey Pulyaev. We have 9-3 versus 6-2. Man, the records on these fighters are so good. The significant strike differential. These guys are pretty close. It seems like Andrey Pulyaev puts a little bit more output, and has also won more of his fights by KO, whereas Nick Klein wins more of his fights by submission. Nick Klein does get 3 takedowns per 15 minutes, but 20% takedown accuracy, and Andrey Pulyaev has 85% takedown defense. And he's also from Russia, and Nick Klein's from the US, so good luck getting the Russian down. I'm going to go with Andrey Pulyaev by KO or TKO in this middleweight bout. Moving on to Rodolfo Vieira versus Tresean Gore. I actually at least know the names of these fighters. Rodolfo Vieira has 90% of his wins by submission, and he's a 10-3 fighter, versus Tresean Gore, who has 6-3, 50% of his wins by submission, 33% by TKO or KO. Absorbs 3 or 4 times as many strikes as he gets. Holy crap. Tresean Gore is a walking punching bag, guys. This is wild. Rodolfo Vieira's takedown defense is 100%, although Tresean Gore's takedown accuracy is 75%, but I don't think that he's going to want to grapple with the guy that has 90% of his wins by submission. I'm going to go with Rodolfo Vieira by either submission or KO TKO. I really don't see a way where Tresean Gore wins. Also, Rodolfo Vieira's strike differential is not great either. Gives out about 3 strikes for every 4 that he takes. Maybe Tresean Gore could win this by KO or TKO. Let me just quickly jump to their stats. How many UFC fights have these guys had? So Rodolfo Vieira lost his last fight to Andrei Petroski, but then he beat Derek Brunson, Armin Petrosian, Cody Brundage, lost to Chris Curtis, beat Dustin Stoltzfus, lost to Anthony. He's had some good fights, good wins there. And Tresean Gore has fought has not beaten anybody big. Beat Antonio Tricoli, beat Josh Fremd, lost to Marco Tullio, lost to Cody Brundage, lost to Brian Battle. I'm going to go with Rodolfo Vieira by submission here. Moving on to Rinya Nakamura versus Nathan Fletcher in the bantamweight bout. 9-1 versus 9-2. You almost have to go for the Asian guy on the Asian card, right? I hope that we finally get like a proper Asian champion in the UFC. I know people will probably be like, Lyoto Machida is Asian. He's Brazilian. Okay, I understand he's part Asian, but he's Brazilian. Let's be real. Rinya Nakamura versus Nathan Fletcher. 56% of Rinya Nakamura's wins are by KO TKO. 78% of Nathan Fletcher's wins are by submission. Nathan Fletcher also, both of these guys look like they have really good striking defense. Like they only absorb about half the amount of strikes that they give. Rinya Nakamura's takedown defense is 100%, but Nathan Fletcher does shoot for a lot of takedowns. His takedown accuracy is not good. I'm going to go with Rinya Nakamura by KO TKO in this fight. That's the prelims done. Moving on to Danny Silva versus Kevin Vallejos. Okay, we got 10-1 versus 15-1. Both seem to like to finish their fights by KO or TKO. You know, Danny Silva does get some decisions. Wow, these guys put out a lot of output. This is going to be probably a banger fight. This could be fight of the night, I think. I'm going to maybe put a little... If I was to pick a fight of the night, I'm already picking that it's going to be Danny Silva, Kevin Vallejos, if it's not the main event. Wow. These guys land a decent amount of strikes. They also receive a decent amount of strikes. How's their grappling? Danny Silva has decent amount of takedown attempts. Ooh, this is interesting, guys. I'm gonna go with Danny Silva just due to output. I have a feeling that this will go to decision, even though both of these guys have, throw a lot of strikes. Maybe will it though? I mean, both of them. No, I'm going to go with Kevin Vallejos by KO or TKO. Let me quickly double check their stats. Whew. I mean, Rinya Nakamura was on a bit of a tear. He lost to Muin Gafurov, and that was his only loss, and then he was on a string of wins, and he's had 4 fights in the UFC now. Beat Carlos Vera, Fernie Garcia, Toshiyama Kazama. Nathan Fletcher, on the other hand, is lost 2 of his last 3 fights. He's had 2 UFC fights so far. No, I'm gonna stick with my original. Oh, I'm looking at the wrong fucking guys like an idiot. I'm so dumb. Let's go with. Actually, so Nick Klein's only had 1 UFC fight other than a contender fight, and it was a loss to Mansour Abdulmalik. And then Andrey Pulyaev has also only had 1 UFC fight. He's also lost. Okay. Let's go with Kevin Vallejos by KO or TKO. These guys just throw too much. I think even maybe this goes to decision because they're in a lighter weight class, but in reality, I think that Kevin, with the amount that these guys both throw, they're probably going to get a knockout. And you have to factor in that because they've both lost their only UFC fight, they really need a win here. So moving on to Neil Magny versus Elizeu Zaleski dos Santos. What a weak, crazy name that is. Where is this guy from? I understand he's obviously Brazilian with a dos Santos, but Elizeu Zaleski dos Santos. That's wild. Neil Magny used to be like a top contender, now is completely unranked, 29-14-0 versus 25-9-1. I think that Neil Magny's just basically become like a, body for hire for the UFC to let their guys get beaten. Let's see, Neil Magny's last 2 fights: Carlos Prates, Michael Morales, beat Mike Mallet, lost to Ian Gary, beat Phil Rowe, lost to Gilbert Burns, beat D-Rod, lost to Shavkat. I mean, the guys he's losing to are big. He's beaten Jeff Neal, Max Griffin, D-Rod, Phil Rowe, Mike Mallet, but none of those guys are that good. Whereas Zaleski does what I'm not saying that name again. Elizeu lost to Chidi and Jaquani, beat Zach. He hasn't fought anyone at the same type of level that Neil Magny's fought at. Beat Benoit Saint Denis, so I guess he's actually coming from like a lower weight division. Li Jing, oh, maybe not. I don't know how he fought Benoit Saint Denis. Um, lost to Li Jingliang, beat Luigi Vendramini, beat Sean Strickland. Oh, he's the guy that beat Sean Strickland with the spinning hook and the punches. Yeah. I mean, who do you give this fight to? The striking differential. Dos Santos is going to put more output. Neil Magny's become chinny. I'm going to go with Elizeu via KO or TKO. Moving on to Karol Rosa versus Nora Cornolle. The only other ranked people on the card. 2 women. Amazing. The women's bantamweight bout. Let's go. 18-7 versus 9-2. Nora Cornolle, 67% of her wins by KO or TKO. That's pretty crazy for women's bantamweight. I'm going to go with Karol Rosa by decision on this fight just due to output. It looks like she does about 2 times more in her fights than Nora Cornolle. Nora Cornolle has the knockout ability, it seems, but, and maybe she'll be able to land because Karol Rosa is doing a lot of output, but it seems like Karol Rosa has more experience, so I'm just going to go with Karol Rosa by decision on this one. Moving on to Elvis Brenner versus Esteban Ribovics. 16-5 for Elvis Brenner, 14-2 for Esteban Ribovics. 50% of Esteban's wins are by KO, 69% but to Elvis Brenner by submission. The land, wow, Esteban throws a lot in his fights. 8 strikes for every 6 landed, whereas Elvis Brenner takes a lot. 4 shots for every 5 landed. Gives 4 for every 5 that he absorbs. He doesn't seem to have enough takedowns either to really get Esteban down. I'm going to go with Esteban Ribovics by KO TKO. It just seems like Elvis Brenner gets hit too much and Esteban puts too much output. Do a quick little check of their stats here. Esteban has had a few UFC fights. He lost to Nasrat Haqparast, but he beat Terrence McKinney. I mean, Terrence McKinney's like a 50-50 fighter. Head kick in round 1. Yeah, I mean, that's Terrence McKinney. Daniel Zellhuber. Interesting. That was that fight of the night at UFC Noche. Gotcha. He's that guy. And then Elvis Brenner has had a bunch of UFC fights. Is on a bit of a skid. Lost to Miktabek Oralbai and Joel Alvarez, which, 2 decent names. Other than that, he was on a bit of a tear in the UFC. Yeah, I'm going to go with Esteban Ribovics by KO. Moving on to Mateusz Rebecki versus Chris Duncan. 20-2 versus 13-2. Relatively similar stats when it comes to how they finish. And output is fairly similar as well. Wow, these guys are like a mirror of each other. What about grappling? Oh my goodness. These guys are like pretty close to a carbon copy of each other. Their stats are very, very similar. What about their record? Chris Duncan has had, quite a few fights in the UFC. He's only lost to Manuel Torres. Other than that, he's won all of his 5 UFC fights. And then Mateusz Rebecki has had 1, 2, 3, also 5 UFC fights, only lost 1 to Diego Ferreira. Oh, this is interesting. This is going to be an interesting fight. I think... man. You got to go with the guy with the better record in this case, right? I mean, when the stats are all pretty much aligned, how do I think it's going to go? I think that it seems like Mateusz Rebecki's takedown accuracy is a bit better as well, so he probably has better control of where the fight is. I'm going to go with Mateusz Rebecki by decision. Moving on to Tatsuro Taira versus Hyun-sung Park, the Hyun-sung hero. This is a completely Asian main event, which you very rarely see in the UFC. For some reason, we do not have enough Asian fighters. I'm surprised by that, honestly. But I guess they've never just been able to do that well in the UFC. I don't know why. Again, outside of like Lyoto Machida, who's Brazilian, so he goes 16-1 versus 10-0, but Tatsuro Taira's only loss is to Brandon Royval, and Brandon Royval felt like he was, had really leveled up and was a beast in there. Hyun-sung Park has a lot of output. Let me see here. Hyun-sung Park's had a few UFC fights. Seung-guk Choi, Shannon Ross, Carlos Hernandez. Finished all three of those guys. He finishes his fights, that's for sure. Finishes his meals, this boy does, that's for sure. Tatsuro Taira. I mean, Brandon Royval just seemed to really think he was on another level, and he was so prepared for this fight because he was coming in to fight Amir Albazi, and he's coming off that loss. I guarantee he wanted to get back in the win column. It was a very close fight with Brandon Royval, a split decision. Oh man, it would be very hard to bet against Tatsuro Taira in this fight with Hyun-sung Park coming in on like 1 week's notice. At the same time, sometimes those guys, they come from the outside, I feel like they can just come in with nothing really to lose. But this guy does have something to lose. He has a 10-0 record. But that's actually almost more, value for him. What's better, Japan or South Korea, guys? This is what we're really debating here. Who's better, Japan or South Korea? 100% takedown defense for Hyun-sung Park, which is wild. I wonder what... And he throws a lot of submissions, so when he gets his own takedowns. Interesting. These guys, this is going to be a good fight, I think. There's no odds on this fight. Hyun-sung Park isn't ranked yet. I'm going to have to go Tatsuro Taira. How does he win it, though? I doubt it's going to be by submission when I look at the grappling stats of Hyun-sung Park. I'm guessing just by decision. I think this is going to be a long decision fest card, guys. Honestly, I really think that there's going to be a lot of decisions on this card. I feel like it's just going to be like a lot of guys that are very closely matched up that don't have the power to really end it. Like there's no heavyweight fights on this card. The heaviest fight that we have is a couple of middleweight fights on the prelims. So there's going to be a lot of decisions here, I think. Although you do also have a lot of unranked guys. When you have unranked guys, you sometimes see just crazy wild fights. So this could also be a fun Apex card to watch from home. It's crazy to me that the guys from the UFC said that the Apex cards are basically the same as pay-per-views in a big arena. It's like you don't even put as much effort into matchmaking the UFC Apex cards as you do when you're putting together an arena. So why should we believe you that these cards are pretty much the same thing? With that being said, I'm going to go with Tatsuro Taira on this card. It just, he has the preparation. He has the high-level experience. He's been in a war with Brandon Royval. He's learnt lessons. He levels up, according to Brandon. He's from Japan. Big dishonor if he loses. He cannot lose this fight. It's a big dishonor to his family. I'm going to go with Tatsuro Taira to win this card. And that's my picks. I hope you enjoyed me breaking this down with you and figuring it out on the fly for the flyweight card. This was fun. And let me know who you think is going to win this. If you know any of these fighters at a deep level and you feel like I got something completely wrong, please tell me. If you're like me and you also know basically nobody on this card, even though I constantly look at MMA cards and what's going on, a lot more since I started the channel, obviously, but if you're like me, let me know as well, because this just seems like the UFC went, okay, let's grab some random guys off the street. Do you know how to fight? Yeah, come fight. Okay, great. How about you? Do you know how to fight? Okay, cool. I've got an Apex Cup. They're like walking around the streets of Las Vegas going, hey, you Brazilian? Hey, Brazilian guy, do you know how to fight? Yeah, okay, come join us. We got a fight night this weekend. Like, what the hell is going on here? Anyway, guys, if you like the video, like the video. Like I said, if there's things that you wanted to let me know, please comment. And if you like this type of content, which you probably don't, because I feel like this is probably a terrible sixth video, but subscribe. I'd love to see you more often. See ya.